In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at an overwhelmingly warm pattern in the central and eastern states overall for the foreseeable future. I want to get back to normalcy today. That is kind of the goal here. Obviously, I took my vacation yesterday. Yesterday's video was a little short and came out pretty late, but today we're going to be doing a full-blown video just like we did, a week plus ago. Getting back to looking at the 6 to 10, 8 to 14, 3 to 4 week outlooks, as well as how April has gone so far. And then we're going to dive into the model guidance. There is some severe weather concerns as well. I think overall the pattern moving forward for the late portion of April into the beginning of May is going to be more sufficient for thunderstorms as well. So overall, an action-packed video today. First off, let's take a look at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook here from the Climate Prediction Center. And what we see is issued yesterday. I'm making this video at 11 a.m. I'm trying to get ahead of schedule now. So this is for the 24th through the 28th of April. And as you can see, we have a overall negative PNA look with colder temperatures there along the southwest coast, and this is going to overall support warmer temperatures for not only a lot of the western states here like the Rockies eastward into the central states and even the eastern states here. So be ready for a very early summer like pattern to take over, which is exciting. Many folks dealing with 70s, 80s, and probably to the south even 90s. So this is going to be your first glimpse of very hot weather moving in. Looking at the precipitation, like I said, this is going to be very sufficient for thunderstorm activity, and it's really hard to find the below average precipitation areas. Climate Prediction Center saying, hey, everybody has a chance of precipitation here, isolated and scattered thunderstorms almost daily for many folks, and there's going to be a few pretty large low pressure systems that move through that will bring severe weather threats as well. Looking at the 8 to 14 day outlook, which will run from April 26th to May 2nd, so now we're finally looking at May as well. It's a lot of the same negative PNA there along that southwest coast, which just means cold along the west coast. And we see this warmth spreading, again, Rockies eastward. So this is going to continue into early May is the current assumption. Looking at the precipitation, we do dry up a little bit for this southeast corner as we do expect to move into more of a southeast ridge type pattern, which does have a tendency to bring high pressure to this area. So I'm sure that's what they're looking at, but that's not going to mean no precipitation for this entire time frame. Probably there will be days of thunderstorms in there with the warm temperatures, the humidity. It's inevitable that there will be chances for this area still, but a really overall wet look for both of these outlooks so far. And we do have a 3 to 4 week outlook here issued yesterday as well. So these come out every Friday, and we do see this is for May 3rd through 16th. So this gives us a good glimpse into what the Climate Prediction Center is expecting for the early May timeframe. As you can see, above average for the West, which is a little interesting considering we've seen, recently below average, well, moving forward, below average temperatures along the West Coast. They do expect that to switch into a positive PNA. But when we're looking at the May timeframe, that's not going to bring considerably cold temperatures. It might just bring us to a more normal spring-like pattern. But despite this positive PNA, we do see something else, and we see this southeast ridge here, which brings the warmth still to the southeast. Funny enough, this is a very La Nina-like pattern, and we have, over the course of the winter, slowly but surely moved into a weak La Nina, so it makes sense that we would be moving into a pattern like that. If this would have occurred in the winter, it would have been a very different outcome, especially for the southeast and deep south, where we saw historic snowfall in some of these spots. That would have likely been a lot harder to come by if that La Nina would have established itself much earlier on. So just a little interesting side note there. But these areas equal chances. I'm sure there will be cooler days here for this time frame across the northern plains, upper Midwest, Great Lakes, and Northeast. But equal chances, it could be warmer in there as well. It is pretty far out. It's also worth noting. The precipitation, equal chances for the West, but we do see this pocket of above average precipitation expected for a lot of the plains, Midwest, Ohio Valley, into the Mid-Atlantic, Northeast, even the Great Lakes there. And then we do see still this below average area for the Southeast, where again, that southeast ridge is probably bringing high pressure in this area, making things a little bit drier. It's kind of like a force field for storms. They move around it, not through it. The pressures do not want to mix. It's a lot like oil and water, where they kind of just revolve around each other, never mixing. Looking at the past 20 days, so this is the final day of March and then the first 19 days of April so far, we can see that we have actually been in a pattern very similar to that 3 to 4 week outlook for most of the month. And interestingly enough, you'd think this would be common, but it's actually quite rare. We've seen a lot of the southern states from the southwest to south central to southeast be warmer than normal. And you might be thinking, of course it's warmer in the south, and of course it's colder in the north. But the thing is this is compared to the average of every given location you can see on the map. So for areas like my area in southeast Virginia, it has been above what is average for southeast Virginia for this time of year. And then for New England, it's been below average for what is the average for this time of year. So you can imagine this is increasing the contrast between these typical disparities, and it's actually making that difference much larger. What this does is we've seen a lot of cold fronts come through into these areas, and we've seen the warmth and humidity try to match that and move in. And we've seen this kind of battleground for severe weather throughout a lot of these areas. And that is what has caused our above average activity of severe weather. I'm thinking for early April is this disparity between the north and the south, those cold fronts moving through into very warm and humid environment. That contrast is directly leading to more instability. There's plenty of shear almost no matter what this time of year. So we have just seen devastating results of that. So we have to hope that that does not continue into late April and into May. But that is what we've seen looking back so far on April. For the European model, we can see right out of the gate, we do have a couple of days of severe weather activity expected here for today into tomorrow, Sunday, and then we do slow down a little bit for Sunday where there's only a general thunderstorm risk as of now. We don't have any extended day outlooks from the Storm Prediction Center either. We will look at everything according to the Storm Prediction Center at the end of this video, but we're going to try to indicate some of those risks beyond the Monday timeframe. We do see a little bit of low pressure around for the Great Lakes here. This has a dragging cold front, and we're almost in the exact situation I was just talking about. We have this cold air moving in from the north, very cool, and then we have warmth and humidity just moving up into these areas. That cold is going to hit this northern warm wind from the side, and that creates a lot of rotation and can lead to tornadic events. That's what happens frequently in the spring months. So we just see tons of thunderstorms firing off already as of this morning. I'm going to take us to the afternoon to the evening. This is 8 p.m. Eastern time. We do see thunderstorms around for Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania. We're seeing widespread thunderstorms, and we do have an enhanced risk of severe weather today and tomorrow. So a little bit more widespread severe weather expected for both days back to back. Sunday afternoon here, what gets interesting is we see a low develop on the southern end of that cold front, which does happen from time to time. And we are dealing with the chance of pretty bad severe weather for a lot of these areas to the east of that low. Again, we'll look at that later on. There is snow showers as well as rain showers for the lower elevations of the Pacific Northwest. Kind of said that wrong. The high elevation snowfall, low elevation rainfall, just to clarify. Let's keep going, though. I want to take us towards Monday, where, again, we do have a general thunderstorm risk. There's not a lot of cold air to work with here, so the instability is going to be decent, but, you know, we're not looking at a crazy dynamic system, it doesn't look like, for Monday. We have this low over the Great Lakes, bringing pretty widespread precipitation up there, some snowfall even. And then we do have a very, very weak cold front extending down from that low right here. And that is leading to enough instability for some scattered thunderstorms throughout these areas, but you know, as of now, just a general thunderstorm risk. Wouldn't be surprised to see a marginal risk in there by the time we're getting to Monday, but not the most dynamic system in the world, as I mentioned. Let's keep going. I'm going to take us straight into Tuesday, the 22nd here, and we continue to see these thunderstorms for the deep south into the southeast. This is going to become a very common sight as we transition from late spring into summer. Even starting, you know, now, we're really seeing this consistently. Here is Wednesday, where, again, there's no real parent low, so the severe weather risk isn't going to be massive, but we do have just large areas of scattered thunderstorms happening here from the southern plains through the deep south and into the southeast. Very summer-like. Thursday, same thing, especially across a lot of your plains and Midwest. Here we have just huge areas of scattered thunderstorms, and this does extend into some parts of the southeast as well. Looking towards Friday, same thing. I mean, it's really hard for me to even differentiate these days because it looks the same almost every single day. Saturday, it does move a little bit more eastward. We see the mid-Atlantic and northeast getting more involved. And then the southeast for Sunday on the 27th. Here's Monday the 28th, and this is a weird day. We have this jet stream that is troughing into the east, and we call this a backdoor cold front. It's not moving from the central states as they typically do, so I'm going to cross that out. That's not happening. We actually see it kind of moving from the back door up from the northeast, and it typically is colder on the eastern end of the Appalachian Mountain Range because the cold sinks. It's not really making it over those mountains onto the west side of them, so it's sinking down the east coast here. A pretty interesting look for Monday the 28th. This is 10 days out, so this could look considerably different, but worth noting. And even when the east dries up, the central states are still very wet. That's going to be a theme here that I want to stick to because we see the model guidance showing the most precipitation in the central states and a little bit less in the east. Tuesday, same thing. The east is quite dry. A high pressure system there off the Delmarva, as you can see right here. But really wet across the central states still. We do see a 997 there over Colorado. Could be a day to watch for another severe weather event across the plains with that low pressure there. We also have kind of this, it's pretty slight, but we have this rising jet stream right there to the east of the Rockies. That would create an interesting dynamic there for those areas. Could be something to watch for. Very far out though. And by Wednesday the 30th, what we see is this low is up there by the Dakotas. We see this cold front, very weak, but it is there, stretching. We have a warm front out here. So we deal with another day of potential severe weather across the plains and Midwest. Thursday, the 1st of May, they're looking quite the same. Even Friday the 2nd. Here we see that low move out, and another one wants to form here. Could be some more severe weather concerns across the plains. And as we move into Saturday the 3rd, this gets a lot more dynamic and a lot more concerning. We have a stronger cold front now, a very intense warm front. This would be extremely hot weather across the east and even just to the east of this precipitation, but we do have much cooler weather behind this cold front. Again, that contrast is important, and we see widespread thunderstorms. This could be major if we see something like this, but this is at hour 360, so it's more so to try to pick up on the theme and less to look at specifics. But if we see anything like this, it would be of pretty major concern. I think overall, this upcoming pattern through, let's say, May 4th here, like what we're looking at, doesn't look as hyperactive as far as severe weather as what we saw in early April, but it does look quite active. We do see maybe 2 or 3 concerning systems over the next 2 weeks. That is average to above average activity, and definitely something that we're going to be watching very closely. I do want to glance at the GFS model just to make sure we get agreement here. We see that initial severe weather system happening. We get these scattered thunderstorms happening, almost daily here. And then we do get these more dynamic systems once we move towards late April into May, bringing cold fronts across, more considerable cold fronts. But look at May 4th. That looks very different than the European model. That's kind of to give you an idea, the differences we can see at this range. So definitely worth noting that this is very far out and things could look a lot different. It is interesting that on the GFS model we do have a low that looks similar. It's just over Maryland instead of where's this one, Minnesota. So an interesting dynamic that is shifted hundreds of miles further eastward on the GFS model. So that's why I always say, pay attention to themes. Both models do have a major storm around the same time frame that are similar. The difference is the location, so definitely something to watch regardless. Looking at the total precipitation, again, we do see decent amounts in the east, but it is slightly below average to average. These central areas are where we're seeing the far above average precipitation, and that's because they get daily thunderstorms here in the upcoming pattern, and then a couple of pretty dynamic severe weather threats. That all combined over the course of 2 weeks is going to lead to a ton of precipitation. And when we look at the anomalies, it tells the full story. The west is dry. I mean, we are seeing hardly any activity unless you're in the northwest. And then the central states were inches above average over the next 2 weeks, which is very considerable for such a short time frame. And then the east is very close to average, but mostly slightly below average here in the east. Looking at the Storm Prediction Center outlook here, we see day 1, the lighter greens, we have a general thunderstorm risk. That is where we expect general thunderstorms, as the name implies. But these forecasts are very tricky, and we do oftentimes see severe weather where it's not expected, specifically in those areas just outside of the risk areas. So heat every watch, warning, and advisory still. The level 1 marginal risk is going to be in that darker green, and that's where we expect isolated severe weather reports to occur. The yellow area there is where we have a level 2 slight risk, and we expect scattered about severe weather reports in there. And then central Texas, we have that orange area, which is a level 3 enhanced risk, and that is where we expect things to get a little bit more widespread as far as severe weather is concerned. Looking at day 2, which will be for Sunday on the 20th, tomorrow, from the time I'm watching or making this video, we have 2 general thunderstorm risk areas, a marginal risk, a slight risk, and then a enhanced risk for Arkansas, Missouri, and a little bit of Illinois there. So you can see the threat just moves to the northeast a little bit, but it's a slow mover, and we get another very, very active day of severe weather likely for Sunday the 20th tomorrow. And then day 3, like I said, things do slow down. We have Monday the 21st here. We just have a general thunderstorm risk across some of the deep south up into parts of the Ohio Valley and mid-Atlantic, as well as some of the Great Lakes. Again, wouldn't be surprised to see a marginal risk in there at some point. Also, you know, it is possible that we get a slight risk or more, but it does look like a drop-off in activity, thankfully, from days 1 and 2 to 3. So that is good news. With all that being said, I upload every single day. Be sure to subscribe. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.